welcome back to my channel. I still don't have a proper intro. I need to work on that. I have something exciting to play with today. Bubble wrap is loud! I have two microfiber sponges from Juno & Co. This is so exciting. I also got two little stands for them, and these are adorable. They look like, you know, like little like egg cups. Yeah, I have two sponges. I have the microfiber, I can't speak. I have the microfiber, why can't I say that? Microfiber velvet sponge and the microfiber fusion sponge. So here are my two sponges. It's such a cool texture. I don't know, again, my camera's not the best quality, so I don't know how much you're actually going to be able to tell, but it does have this like fuzzy, velvety layer. It's really soft. I could just like rub this on my face all day. Okay, I'm gonna stop. It's got a little instructional pamphlets, so it's saying how to use it dry and how to use it wet. So it seems like the best way to use this sponge to apply powders like blush and highlighters and loose powders and stuff like that is to actually use the sponge dry, because the dry microfiber surface will act as brush hairs for evenly blended distribution. That sounds really cool. And it definitely like feels like this could be used like a brush. I really love this. Okay, stop. And to use it wet to apply liquid things like concealers and foundations. I think my goal here is to try and do like a mostly full face just using these two sponges. We'll see how that goes. There's obviously a few things that I can't use it for, like I don't think I'm going to use it for my brows. Obviously can't use it for mascara, and I probably won't use it for lipstick, like I'll just apply that, but all of my like face stuff I'm gonna do with these. That will definitely be a challenge. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna wet just one of these. So I am probably gonna keep referring to them as the Velvet and the Fusion, just so there is no confusion. What is wrong with me? This is the Velvet sponge. It looks like a regular old beauty blender, like this one here that's traditional teardrop, except it has a flat bottom and it does have a little slice cut out of it here, so it's got a flat edge. And I think this is the one we're going to keep dry. And this is the Fusion sponge. This is definitely a slightly bigger sponge in comparison to the Velvet sponge. So again, it does sort of have that traditional teardrop shape, definitely at the bottom where it's rounded, but it's kind of got the top cut off and a giant slice through it. So it's got a nice flat edge at the top. This will be really good for like right underneath the eyes and for blending in foundation. I think this will work really well. So this is the one that I think we're going to wet. So here's my instructions for how to wet your Juno & Co. sponge. So I do have a little cup of water here, and I guess we're just gonna follow the instructions. Submerge your Juno underwater and squeeze out any excess liquid to begin. And here's our wetted little sponge guy. It does look like it's grown just a little bit to me, not a huge amount, but it is supposed to grow to be like 50% bigger. So it's not supposed to double, but half of that. Does that make sense? Still feels super soft. Ooh. So that's really interesting. When I just press my fingers against it, it doesn't really feel wet, but when I like drag it across my face, I can definitely feel that it's damp. So I think what I am gonna do is I'm going to go in with a stick foundation, which is not really what it says to do. It says to use a liquid foundation. A lot of the liquid foundations that I have right now make me break out, and I'm trying to avoid that. So I'm going to use the Hourglass Vanish stick foundation just because it's much better for my skin than some of the other ones that I have. We're not even gonna do primer today because I feel like it doesn't really do that much. Like sometimes when I use primer, I feel like it actually makes it worse. I'm gonna stop talking and just go in, lay down this foundation the way that I normally would. I'm just gonna start in a small section and work from there. Okay, stick foundation is so satisfying to put on. Does anyone else think that? I'm gonna grab my little sponge here, and I guess I'm just gonna dab and stipple. That's what it said to do. Well, that did absolutely nothing. I guess I'm gonna drag it and, ooh, yes. There we go. So I find generally the best way to apply a stick foundation is to blend it out with a brush first, and then I like to use a sponge to give it like more of an even layer. I don't know if that made sense. So I thought that this would be really good to work with this sponge because it's kind of like a mixture of a brush and a sponge. And so far, just dragging out the product first and then doing a light dabbing, I think looks really nice. So I'm just going to do the rest of the face. This is definitely taking some getting used to. I'm so in the habit of holding a sponge in my hand and just bouncing it. And the fact that I'm dragging a sponge across my face is like kind of giving me trauma because I would never do that because it would make it really streaky with a regular sponge. But this is like incredible. Like it looks flawless and amazing when I do this, which is wild. Also, it's kind of weird that like my skin does look a little bit darker than this foundation, and obviously when it's blended out compared to my skin tone it does look a little darker, but it does match my neck really well, so that's what I'm doing. I have a tendency to use a super light foundation because honey, look at my neck. I am a vampire. I think that's like the fastest I've ever blended out that foundation. Wow. And it does seem to like be a little bit more full coverage than it would be. Like I usually I do my initial like lay down and blend it and then I put more on, but I don't think I even need to do that. I'm so far a big fan of this. Like it blended a stick foundation out beautifully. Cool, let's move on to some concealer. I'm gonna grab the Maybelline Age Rewind in the shade Ivory. Oh, why is she so yellow? Someday I'll find a concealer that's not too yellow for me. But that day is not today. Alright, I'm gonna grab the same Fusion sponge and blend this out with dabbing motions, I guess. Oh, and that's blended. Wow, she is a quick worker. Love that. So what I'm doing is I am dabbing and stippling on most of the product, and then right at the edges I'm dragging just a little bit to get that nice seamless blend. I'm going to grab the NYX Wonder Stick for a little bit of cream contour. I'm just going to bring this a little bit in the cheekbone region, as well as under the jawline and up onto the forehead. Okay, let's go for the forehead first. We've got a nice little cheekbone, a nice little bit of a jaw. I am going to add a little bit more in the forehead just because I went in pretty sparingly because I was scared. I'm going to do my eyebrows really quick and then we will start on some powders. Alright, those are my brows all carved out and done. I think we're pretty much ready to move on to powder. Normally I would use a wet sponge to go into loose setting powder or a brush to just dust it all over my face. And I'm doing neither of those things. I'm using the dry Microfiber Velvet Sponge. This is the one that we haven't used yet. So it's completely dry, never been wet. I'm a little scared, especially because this is definitely the firmer sponge. Maybe I should have kept the other one dry, and too late now. I'm going to go into my translucent setting powder. This is Coty Airspun. I'm going to try and just set my whole face. I'm not going to bake yet. I'm just going to set. That's the goal, at least. I think I'm going to go in with the little, like, butt end that's flat, I guess. Oh, man, there is a lot on there. Okay. I don't know whether to dab or spread. It does feel pretty hard, I will say that. I don't understand what's happening. I feel like that is so smooth. Okay. It's almost like it's combining the powder with the liquids and... Alright, look at this. This is the completely unset side. It's definitely very dewy. And now look at this side. Oh my god. This is so... It feels so soft and it just looks like perfect matte blended. This looks like airbrushed. That is insane. It looks so good. And here I was being like, I don't know if this is gonna even work. And it's the best I've ever seen my powder perform. Now I will say, I don't think this is gonna work for baking. I mean, like, I can obviously get quite a lot of powder on here, but when I press it into the face, well, yeah, it's there. But it's just not the, like, amount of powder that I would need to press into my skin in order to bake. So I think once we do get to that step, I'm going to go back to the wet sponge, just because that's what I would normally use anyways when I'm baking. My skin feels super soft and it doesn't look like cakey at all, and it really looks like the liquids and the powder have just completely melded together really gorgeously. So now I'm going to do something that scares me. I'm going to try to contour my face using this dry sponge. Yep, we're going to do that. It's going to happen. I'm going to go into the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette into the middle shade in the bottom row. I'm just going to dab it across and just get like a light wash, and also dab it onto my cheekbone rather than swiping. Like, that's beautifully blended, and that took me 3 seconds. I'm going to dab and grab a little bit more, go on the forehead and under the chin. From what I can see from my camera from here, it looks crazy, but from what I see in my mirror, it looks great. So who's right? No, that looks really good in real life. I don't know what's going on with my camera. I don't know if it'll really look like that in the video, but just know this looks like incredible in real life. I promise. We're gonna go in for a little blush now. I think I'm just gonna grab a little on the back end where it's pretty rounded. I'm going to take my Tarte Amazonian Clay in Party, just lightly dab in there. I'm going to go do my eyeshadow off camera and come back and give you a rundown on my thoughts about this. But first, we're gonna put some baking powder on. Sorry if I feel like I'm rushing, but I am because I have 3 minutes before my camera runs out of storage. I'm going to take the Fusion sponge, which is a little bit more wet, and I'm going to just press into a ton of powder and go underneath my eyes. Oh, hello. Yeah, okay, so she works for baking. Clearly. Oh, yes, I'm never able to do that. I don't know why, but I can never like do baking where they just drag it down the jawbone and it works. But look at me. I'm going to go do my eyeshadow. Obviously, this works really well for baking. I love that. And I will be back. I'm back. It took me way too long to do my eyes, considering I wasn't even filming it and no one else is really gonna see it. And also, didn't turn out great. Obviously, I kicked off my bake quite a while ago. The only thing that I have left to do is highlight. I have no highlight on. I'm going to spritz my face first with a little bit of setting spray. This is the Urban Decay All Nighter in Pollution Protection. Where's my highlighter? What'd I do with it? We're gonna just let my face stay a tiny bit wet and grab a highlighter. This is Luna by Luna in the shade Electra. I'm going to take my Microfiber Velvet Sponge just on the little tip. We're gonna go for the brow bone. And just a little bit on the bridge and the tip of the nose. Okay, and I think that is our little look complete. All right, here are my final thoughts on these two Juno & Co sponges, the Velvet and the Fusion. I'd say there's definitely a learning curve to these, but once I figured out the best methods to use these sponges, it was pretty easy and it went a lot faster than my makeup routine normally would, which was nice. So some tips. If you're going to be using one of these for powder, I would suggest dipping it in water beforehand. Maybe do it the day before and let it completely dry out so you can still use it dry, but it's been wet once so it's not like hard, because that just doesn't feel nice on your face. And also, if you're going to be using this for something like contour, the best thing to do is just tap the sponge a couple of times into the pan. Nothing too hard, just do it maybe 3, max 4 times for the first time you do it, and then use that same motion to dab it on the face. If you need more, you can always go in and tap a couple times again, but this definitely puts a lot more pigment on your face than you're expecting it to, so just be aware of that. Also, I generally found for any powder products, the best motion to use was definitely dabbing, and for cream products, a mixture of swiping and dabbing is what worked best. So it definitely doesn't work like a traditional sponge. So again, there's a bit of that learning curve there, and you have to kind of figure it out and decide what works best for what products you're using. I think I'm going to be using these a lot, and I really enjoyed this. Overall, I would say I definitely approve of these sponges. I will put the link of where you can get them down below. Not sponsored. I bought these myself, and they're really inexpensive. I don't know if I mentioned that, but as you know, a regular, like, traditional beauty blender from the company Beauty Blender is like 20 bucks for a blending egg. Each of these are $6, which is like insane because they're so good. Okay, I think that's it for this video. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more, and ring that notification bell to see any videos the next time that I post. Did that make sense? Kind of. Moving on. I am starting to post every Thursday at noon, so make sure you stay tuned for when all of my videos go up. If you have any video suggestions, make sure to leave those down in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!